game translates to the next level, and he's in for a game of draft math. That means we'll figure out the perfect place for him to play, which is good news since we're 1 week exactly away from the 2018 NFL Draft. It gets underway in Dallas next Thursday, live from Jerry World, and it will be the Cleveland Browns on the clock. And so here we are. Wendy Nix, Adam Schefter, Darren Woodson, and Louis Riddick. Mel Kiper is here. Todd McShay will join us as well. And so we'll start with the draft questions everybody is asking, and you have to start in Cleveland. Which quarterback, because we know it will be a quarterback, which quarterback will the Browns opt for at number one? Adam.
You know what's great about this? This morning I spoke to one general manager. He said, you could take it to the bank. The Browns are going to take Josh Allen. I said, really? He said, yeah. And he outlined all the reasons why that was going to be. Then I spoke to another general manager, and he said, you can take it to the bank. The Browns are going to take Sam Darnold. And outlined the reasons why that was going to be. And I hung up the phone, and I felt no further in my convictions about who the Browns are going to take at number one, Josh Allen or Sam Darnold. The one thing I do believe, they're going to take a quarterback at one. Right. They're going to take one of these guys at number one. John Dorsey addressed the media in Cleveland today, and one of the things he talked about was hand size being a factor in a quarterback playing in Cleveland. And if we're going to talk about hand size, Josh Allen's got the biggest hands of any of the quarterbacks in this draft. But you take a look at these guys. Josh Allen's got over 10-inch hands, which helps somebody hold on to the football. But again, this is consistent with the types of conversations you have with people all across the league. It seems like everybody's got a different favorite quarterback, a different reason why they love one quarterback over another. You see the numbers on Josh Allen. It's why some people love him. There are numbers on Sam Darnold. There are numbers on Josh Rosen. There are numbers on Baker Mayfield. Sam Darnold, again, in that conversation as well. And some people think that he should be the number one pick. And again, it all depends on who you talk to. And frankly, at this point, I'm not sure which one.
I don't think anybody's sure.
Yeah, good luck.
Look, no one's sure. Look, I look at Sam Darnold, and I think it's probably because I've been able to see a lot more of Sam Darnold over the last year here. Tough guy. Extremely competitive, and you hear the stories up in SC is that, you know, this guy gets up in the morning, breathes football. This is what he does. And being in a small market in Cleveland, you want a guy. In Cleveland, John Dorsey, I know it's his first year as a GM. He can't miss. They cannot miss this year at this pick right now. If I'm looking at it, I think Sam Darnold, because of the toughness, because of the attitude, because it's a guy that you can build on and be a franchise quarterback, he's the safest bet that I see.
And look, the only people who really are interested in consensus is us. We're the ones who are trying to figure out whether or not if there's one guy that everyone has a consensus on as far as being the number one overall pick. With teams, especially when it comes down to draft situations like this where there are varying opinions, it's very much so about knowing yourself and what you want and what you look for in terms of makeup and then his physical skills. That's why, look, I believe this from what I know about John Dorsey and people who have worked with John Dorsey. This is going to be an organization that very much so is driven by guys who, quote unquote, check boxes as far as what the prototype is supposed to be at that position in particular. And you know what? That leads you right to Mr. Allen.
Okay.
He has
who's the prototype? Yep.
Exactly. He has it. He has size, arm strength, hand size, and all coaches and general managers also are very much so fall victim to, I believe I can get it out of him. I believe I can change the deficiencies, correct the deficiencies, and make them strengths, because that's just how people are wired in this business when it comes to personnel and coaching. They think they can correct everything. And with him, they think they'll be able to correct his efficiency as far as being a more accurate passer, whether it be from mechanics, from play calling, from better surroundings in terms of his weaponry. They think they'll get the best out of him. That's why I think he'll go number one.
It would match up to the quarterback profile that John Dorsey has had in the past. He traded up last year, leading the Chiefs draft for the big-armed Patrick Mahomes. He is another big, prototypical type of quarterback with the big hands that he likes, with the idea that they don't have to play him at all this year because they've got Tyrod Taylor playing quarterback. They could sit Josh Allen or Sam Darnold or whatever quarterback they take on the bench, not have him play a single snap this year and not rush him along. But make no mistake about it, they're going to go quarterback at number one.
They know, right? We may not know, but surely they know who they're choosing at this point.
I would think they do know.
At this point,
I mean, we're a week away. If they don't,
well, Hugh Jackson said they might not decide.
I know.
Until they're
the day
literally
of.
the day of. But that's hard to imagine.
That's a little much.
Well, you know what?
Especially with 2 picks, 1 and 4.
Yeah, you would hope that they're aligned at this point. Although I will say this. Look, I have been involved in a draft situation where we literally flipped our pick the night before and switched it the night before.
Literally.
Look, in 2004.
Was it at the quarterback position?
Yeah, that's the difference. Quarterback seems different.
But we were still picking in the top 5, in the top 10 in Washington. We had Kellen Winslow Jr. ranked ahead of Sean Taylor the night before the draft. Wow. The next morning, we had a big meeting that night. to discuss all the picks, to discuss those two guys in particular, the entire scouting staff, the entire coaching staff, and ownership. The next morning, those cards were flipped.
Hey,
and we took Sean Taylor.
Hey.
So it can happen.
Hey, John Dorsey presided over the draft, in which everybody expected Luke Jokel to go number 1. At the last moment, it was Eric Fisher. They pulled the switch. We go back to the draft where Aaron Rodgers was coming out. And for weeks, correct if I'm wrong, Lewis, Aaron Rodgers was regarded as the universal number 1 overall pick. And then the week of the draft, something changed in San Francisco, and the 49ers went with Alex Smith. So even if we had the idea and the answer today that the quarterback that the Cleveland Browns is taking is, we don't know that that'll be true next Thursday night.
Yep.
All right.
It can happen.
It can happen. So but it's not going to stop us. Let's talk about let's talk about the Giants at number 2 because we can. Lewis will go the opposite way this time. What are the expectations there?
Wow. I mean, look, I have been on record as saying from the very get-go that I believe that the Giants really do like Saquon Barkley, and it'd be hard not to, right? I mean, it would. Now, philosophically, whether or not running back is the smart choice, considering, like, if we just take quarterback out of the picture here for number 2, and we're still talking about other positions, and namely Saquon and Bradley Chubb in particular, most people would opt for the defensive end over the running back if they're similarly graded, okay? But I think Saquon is just special and different in this situation because of the football team you're talking about, because of where he's from, because of what the Giants want to be philosophically from a running game perspective, and how he can affect the entire football team, offense and defense, given what he brings to the table. Now, knowing who their general manager is, knowing how they've won Super Bowls with pass rushers like this guy who you see on their screen, you could make a compelling case that he deserves to be the number two overall pick, and he could be the number 2 overall pick. You could also make a compelling case that they take a quarterback. So there's so many different things that are in play here for the Giants, which is exactly why if I'm the Giants, I'm not moving anywhere. I'm sitting there at 2. In one of those two, it's one of those 2 players right there, the running back or the defensive end or a quarterback.
Let me say this to you. As of the other day, the Giants have not had many, if any, significant trade conversations about that pick. 0.
So they're staying. You're thinking they're staying.
That would be my sense today. Now, listen, the draft could unfold. Josh Allen could be number 1. Buffalo could love Sam Darnold and see an opening, and they could offer a plethora of picks. You don't know how it's going to unfold. I'm just telling you, there haven't been any real, meaningful trade discussions that have gone on with the Giants at number 2 and other teams that want to come up. So if that is the case, then you got the Giants sitting there. Again, if Josh Allen goes 1, then the Giants have a real interesting decision because then Sam Darnold becomes a part of that conversation. But if Sam Darnold goes number 1, we haven't gotten the sense that the Giants would pick Josh Allen at 2, and then it comes back to the 2 players you're talking about. So everything starts and is predicated on what the Browns do at 1, but then there's ripple and fallout from all the picks.
I think the Giants are in just the ideal situation, an ideal spot of any team in this draft, because either they're going to get a Pro Bowler if they take Saquon or take Bradley. They're going to get a Pro Bowler, or they're going to get a bevy of picks from some team wanting to get up to 2. They can't lose. They can't lose.
Look, I think Saquon Barkley is a once-in-a-lifetime running back. I mean, and I played with one in Emmitt Smith, and I totally understand that. But at number 2, you would think that they're looking at the future of Eli Manning, who's 37, will be 38 on January 3rd. You have to start looking at the future at the quarterback position at some point. Now, are they ever going to get back to this point again? Will they ever have a chance at 3, maybe
you hope
4,
not, really.
4 good quarterbacks that can change the way the franchise is the outlook of the franchise? I still feel like there's an opportunity that the Giants draft a quarterback and prepare him for the future.
Listen, Darren, everything you say is, to me, common sense and logical. Like, when you're a 2 in a draft where a lot of people like a lot of different quarterbacks, you don't bypass the chance to get one.
That's right.
And I can't argue with that. I think that's probably the right approach. On the flip side, I would say to you, okay, well, how about teaming Saquon Barkley with Odell Beckham Jr. and Evan Ingram for the next 3, 4, 5 years, or however long you can do that, and play those offensive weapons together when you're already paying a veteran and Nate Solder money to win right now, and you're trying to win these games right now. Their moves this offseason would indicate that they think that they could try to win now. So if that is the case, and you've got Eli Manning for a couple more years, why not go take?
I guess the bigger question is,
and that's right too. They're both right. There's no wrong answer.
It's always easy for us to say you need to look long term when you're not the one sitting in that chair going, well, my
Whose job depends on it. Yeah, that's exactly right.
That's the question. Do you think Eli's a guy that can get you to the promised land, even with the talent that you're surrounding him with? Barkley, whomever. Do you think Eli's a guy that can do it?
Well, hey,
If someone asked you that question in an interview, what would you say?
Well, I think, look, as long as the support. No, here's the key. Look, we have seen teams go ahead and get very far in the playoffs and win Super Bowls with average quarterback play as long as the rest of the roster is strong. And you have to build it correct. You can't have many misses at the key positions, at pass rusher, at corner, at left tackle. You have to make sure that you're rock solid at wide receiver. Those are critical positions if you're going to have average to maybe subpar quarterback play, which is what most people think Eli's going to give you at this point.
All right, since we're talking about quarterbacks, it seems like a good time to bring in Mel Kiper and Todd McShay as promised. Gentlemen, ready? So listen, take us through the scenario where we may see 5 quarterbacks go in the first 15 picks, because it could happen.
First of all, Kuiper, we're a week away from the draft. Schefter, what are you doing, man? We need the answers. We need the answer at number 1. You normally have it for us. All right, so let's work off the assumption that you guys were just talking about with Josh Allen and maybe the favorite right now to be the number 2 pick in Saquon Barkley, but certainly recognize this could be Sam Darnold at number 2 to the Giants. Number 3, I think we both agree, would be Sam Darnold in this situation, and the Jets, in my opinion, wind up getting lucky to get this player at number 3. Number 4, and when you look at the overall board, we both think that Bradley Chubb would go number 4. 5 is interesting. 5's the first, the spot where you look at and say, could Denver, exactly, Schefter, could Denver trade out of this spot to a team like Buffalo or like Miami trying to move up to that number 5 spot? Or do they take the best player available, which could be what, Denzel Ward maybe at this spot?
Yeah, and Josh Rosen's still there. So this is the quarterback you figure will be targeted at 5 just because of the decision by the Giants. Everything kind of pivots off of that and is determined by the Giants now. If Allen goes 1, what do the Giants do? If the Giants take Darnold, then Barkley drops a little bit. And then Chubb gets pushed down a little bit.
Right, and then Chubb would be sitting at number 5, likely for Cleveland, because we would have Saquon going number 4. But regardless, let's stick with this for now and say that Denver trades out.
Put Rosen in that spot.
Rosen in this spot, and I would say that's probably then going to be Buffalo moving up to go get Rosen at that number 5 spot, right?
You're confusing me with we're moving everything around.
All I did was change a pick. No, it's okay.
Now we have Baker Mayfield sitting there.
Yep.
Now, is Miami going to be satisfied to see if he falls down to 11?
And you got Arizona behind you.
Right.
Patriots could be a factor. And so, 6 becomes then the spot. I think 7. Really, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 are all spots where they don't need quarterback.
But the one caveat to this, all these teams are staring in the face some really good players. There could be 1, 2, 3 on their boards and saying, we're going to lose that guy.
On most teams' boards, one of the best 3 players.
3 DBs that are all different. You got a true corner, cover corner, true safety, and a hybrid. So you got everybody here. All these guys you could argue are at the top of your board, and you're going to lose them if you move down.
Right, you're going to move down, and then there's a drop-off in talent right about here with Vita Vea, Daron Payne. So if you want to make a move to go to 12, you've got to know that there's going to be a player there that you want. If not, it's real hard to move out of that 5th spot, 6th spot, or any spot between there and 10.
So Baker is the furthest he'll drop is 11. That's what we're thinking, right?
I agree.
Then you got Lamar Jackson in this whole equation. Does Arizona at 15?
Well, if we're trying to get 5 in the top 15, that's the spot. Right. That's how it happens.
And then you have Buffalo. If they can't make that move and they don't take a quarterback at 12, at 22 they could come back and take one. New England's sitting at 21, at 23 and 31.
Yep.
New England's got 2 picks where they could. So then you have teams in the late portion of round 1, like Pittsburgh, that could maybe look that way. So I think that's the
Lamar's
scenario.
the wild card.
Yeah, but he goes. I think we agree. He's going in the first round.
And he's going to go in the first round, most likely, and I think we both agree that the top 4 quarterbacks should be off the board in the top 12 picks. It's just then, where does Lamar go after that?
All right, guys, listen, that was easy. Everybody's clear.
You got it, Todd.
Yeah, listen, thanks. Okay,
No
good.
need to tune in next Thursday.
Yeah,
No, we
no,
got
it's
the
good.
draft.
Listen, so think about that, though, for a minute. 4 quarterbacks, in the top 12?
Thanks, by the way.
Who, me? Oh, it was totally sarcastic, Mel. Let there be no doubt about it.
I got you, Wendy.
No, yeah. Listen, what I did catch was 4 quarterbacks in the top 12, potentially with Lamar Jackson the 5th in 15. And just for the heck of it, you could see 6 in the top 15. What about a Mason Rudolph? Or what if it's just quarterbacks?
6 in the top 15 is a bit ambitious.
It is. Yeah. It's a bit of a reach, but
well, you know what? It'll be interesting because look, right now everyone has a different desire as far as what they want out of this position. That's what makes it so interesting because we don't really know. We don't really know exactly what teams are prioritizing and what teams think would be the best fit for them. And it's not just what we can see on tape. A lot of this has to do with stuff that we are not privy to, which is how did these people relate to these guys when they brought them in for interviews? How did these guys actually grade out on the board with them? How did they grade out in all the different psychological tests that they were given? This is what could throw this whole thing out of whack when we actually get on the clock on the first round, which could make us all sitting here going, didn't see that coming. Didn't see that coming. Because teams aren't talking about that. So that makes it, and then the team that we haven't talked about, that could be in the quarterback derby, that we've talked about on other shows. What's New England going to do?
Yeah.
Could New England make the move from 23 to 10 in that area to get ahead of the Dolphins and the Bills? Do the Raiders want to move out of there? Do the Raiders want to risk missing out on a player that I think right now is going to be the talk of the draft, the first night of the draft being Roquan Smith, a linebacker like that? It's a lot of different things that are going to happen here.
Well, and, Adam Schefter reporting yesterday that Tom Brady not 100% sure he'll play. So, and even if he does, he'll be 41. New England's got to think about a quarterback at some point. So, listen, we'll talk trade scenarios, by the way. That was like the primer, like the appetizer. We got a whole bunch of trades coming up as we continue. Also, looking forward to this, Shaquem Griffin will join us in studio to talk about his journey leading up to draft day. We'll also test him a bit in a game of draft math. Plus, the NFL schedule released tonight. Which rematches are we most looking forward to?
We going to the Super Bowl, and we going to win that.
I think they got the big B's or whatever they want to call it on TV.
Killer Bees, I think. That's what they call it.
I can care less what you call it.
Face off next season. We just don't know when yet. The Patriots and Jags have an AFC Championship rematch, a game New England won 24-20 last January in Foxborough. This year, they'll play in Jacksonville. The Patriots and Steelers will meet at Heinz Field again next season. Last year's Week 15 game, a thriller with New England winning by 3 after a controversial no-catch call went against Steelers tight end Jesse James. The Steelers and Jaguars played twice last season. Jacksonville won in Week 5 and again in the AFC Divisional Playoff. The playoff game, not a closer. The Jags winning 45-42 to advance to their first conference title game since 1999. How about the NFC? The round-robin trend continues. 3 top seeds from last year all facing off again this season. The Eagles will host the Vikings, a rematch of last year's NFC Championship. A 38-7 shellacking by Philly. It was, of course, en route to their Super Bowl championship. The Rams will host the defending champs this season, a game they played in Week 14 last year. The Eagles beat the Rams 43-35 after a fourth-quarter drive by L.A. fell short. That game was also played in Los Angeles. The Vikings and Rams faced off last year in Week 11, a 24-7 Vikings win. They'll face again in L.A. this season. We just don't know when. But you can find out tonight on our SportsCenter special, 2018 NFL schedule release show, again, 8 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. And that's when we'll go through everything, tell you exactly who's playing where and when. Both of you played in the league, and it's the offseason. It's April. You're a player. Are you watching the schedule at all? Are you at least looking to see when you go on the road, when you play in Monday Night Football?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the coaches would always preface this and say, hey, look, the schedule's coming out. I don't want you guys to worry about the schedule. Just focus on getting ready this offseason and getting ready for game 1, week 1 of the season. That's what they tell you. And then the schedule comes out, and the veteran players like myself will grab the schedule and say, you know what? I'm counting this one as a win-loss, win-loss,
Oh, you go through
loss.
it, W&L, okay.
Absolutely. So I'm counting win-losses, and now I'm also thinking the winter months. Where are we playing in the winter months? That's my second one. And the third one, my matchup for the week. That's what I'm looking at. And I'm telling you, the coaches will tell you over and over again, do not
Don't do that.
Focus on that.
Don't do that.
It is just human nature as an athlete to count those wins and losses.
We have to, right? I mean, you got to at least look at it.
Yeah.
Guys like this who knew that they were on the team,
Oh.
they looked at the schedule like that. Guys like me who are fighting to stay on the team, they're like, I don't care who we're playing. We can play a doubleheader on Christmas for all I care. I just want to get on the team. You know what I mean? I don't really care. But you know what? I found myself being more interested, just to kind of like move the conversation like from player perspective to front office. Now, when you're in the front office, you very much so scrutinize who you're playing because, I mean, it's easy for you to sit up there in a press box watching the game going, yeah, this should be a win, that should be a loss, this should be a win, we might struggle in this game. front office people really get into this kind of thing because they're always talking to their buddies too and comparing their teams that they built and trying to say, hey, what do you think our record's going to be? So for me as a player, didn't matter. To him, yeah, of course it mattered.
What's the first thing coaches or front office folks look for?
I think that the coaches look for competitive disadvantages. What they're looking for are 3-game road trips, which last year there were 7 on the NFL schedule. This year, there are 3. 3 teams on this year's schedule that'll be released tonight on ESPN from 8 to 10 will have 3-game road stretches. The other thing they're looking at sometimes, I think, is road games after road Monday night games. Last year, there were 5 of them on the schedule. This year, the NFL schedule makers were kind enough to not have any of them. So nobody will have to look at playing a road Monday night game and worry about being on the road the next week, because that's not going to happen. And the number of 3-game road trips has been reduced this year because that is a competitive disadvantage to have to go on the road for 3 straight weeks. Now, of course, at some point it's made back up to you because you get those home games. But I can tell you, teams do not like having to go on the road for 3 straight weeks.
Well, and that Monday night turnaround, that short week is hard enough as it is. To have to go on the road in addition to that is tough. So we're making progress. Again, though, if you want the details, don't miss the special tonight. SportsCenter special, the release of the full NFL schedule. Adam, Darren, and Lewis will all be there. We'll be right here, actually, I guess, right? 8 o'clock Eastern.
At this very desk.
At this very desk. Also coming up in this very studio, Shaquem Griffin. He's been talking to us all day. He'll join us next on NFL Live. Do you want to be an astronaut?
My avatar on Twitter is actually me back in when I was 7. I took a trip to space.
Oh, you took a trip to
space.
Among my favorite during the NFL year because we get to see so many of the draftees come through, all of whom will hear their name called next week. And today, UCF's Shaquem Griffin. And Shaquem, when you watch that, and you've said you're on the record as saying that you're not just a feel-good story. What does that mean? Why is that?
I mean, for me, I don't want to be considered just a feel-good story because I'm more than just a feel-good story. I'm a guy who plays football and has been playing football for a long time. And I've been getting so many comments about, you're motivational and I want to see what you're going to do in the league. And I want to tell everybody, like, nothing's going to change. You play football, the game of football never changes, the level of it does. You go from little league to high school to college to the NFL. And in each and every level, you had to be able to learn, adjust, and be a student of the game just as well as anybody else. Me going to college, I had to learn, I had to get better, I had to get stronger. Had to learn from the coaches and trust that they're going to put me in the best position to make plays. And it's going to be the same thing at the next level. I'm going to be a guy who has to learn from the coaches. I'm going to be around the best coaches in the world. I'm going to be able to learn from them and trust that they're going to put me in the best position to make plays. And, I'm not going to change the way I tackle. I'm not going to change the way I catch. I'm not going to change who I am. I'm just going to get caught in the act of being myself.
What's interesting is when you mentioned put me in the best position to make plays. I think let's just go ahead and let's talk about the game because we're not going to talk about limitations because you don't have any limitations, all right? So let's just put it this way. When you talk about being a 3-4 outside linebacker, maybe a 3-4 inside backer, maybe a will backer in a stack position in a 4-3, where do you think is the best position for you to make plays? And I know you're going to say, look, I can play any position. I have no limitations. But where do you think is best for you?
I mean, what's best for me is playing linebacker. And then at that, even though if I be with a coach that's very creative, I can be a guy who can play linebacker or be a guy who can play nickel and be in open field coverage and feel comfortable doing so. Or if you need help in pass rushing, I could be a guy who can be in a sub package where 3rd and long, I'm a guy who's going to get after the quarterback. And it's crazy because me being able to be used in so many, ways is only going to bring more value to myself and the team that gives me opportunity to be there with them. But I feel comfortable playing linebacker, but I also feel comfortable covering. So I can be that linebacker who can cover or can be considered a nickel while being a base defense.
Yeah, when you're a hybrid player like yourself or a multi-dimensional player like yourself, I think it's important for teams to really, at this point in time, have an idea and a plan for how to use you. You don't want to get into camp and then try and figure out how do we use Shaquem Griffin, to his best ability. You have to have a plan going in ahead of time. Have teams talk to you in detail about how they would use you, or is it kind of like been up in the air, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, or have teams been more specific with you about it?
I mean, some teams been specific, some teams haven't, some teams are still trying to figure out, what can I be used in, what package. I mean, it's all gonna come to a game plan, and you know how everything works. Mm-hmm. And I know some teams say I can play safety, I can be that guy who can come down strong safety, be in the box, and be a 3rd down rusher. Some teams ask me, how comfortable do I feel being by myself, third down or, just base defense and being one-on-one with a slot receiver. I mean, I'm not too much worried about somebody outrunning me, so that's the last thing I'm worried about.
That's for sure.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that because obviously you made history at the Combine when you ran the 40, but what makes it even more interesting is that, if I'm correct, you weren't initially invited to the Combine. Is that right?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay, so I've asked everybody that's come through here, what's the draft process been like for you? I think I want to ask you that question because, it wasn't super smooth in the beginning. I mean, you sort of had to fight to get there in the first place. What was that like, and then how rewarding did that make your performance there?
I mean, me not having the opportunity to be invited, I had to work so much harder than everybody else to get where I need to go. And I was so blessed to be, invited to the Senior Bowl at the last minute that it gave myself, that chip on the shoulder, like, I have to do this. Like, it's what's needed for me to get myself and put myself on a pedestal where I can have opportunity to be invited to the Combine. Because, they told me to win games, I won games. They told me to have good film, I did that. I did everything they told me to do, but I still didn't have the formal invite to the Combine, so I had to do more. You got some guys who play ball and they do what they need to do and they get invited the right way. But I had to just do a little extra. So I went to the Senior Bowl. I won the Practice Player of the Week. I did what I needed to do, and they gave me them few more votes for me to get the Combine. And I made the video saying that, the Combine, they invited the right person. And I'm not gonna say nothing and not back it up. I mean everything I say. And when I say that, just pay attention because I got something special coming, I mean every single word of it. I knew I was going to go there and run fast. I knew I was going to be able to lift weights. I knew I was going to do drills. I'm going to do it my entire life. It was just to show the entire world what I can do.
We've seen some clips with your family. You have a twin brother who already plays in the NFL. He went out a year early. And your father, when he's raising you guys and training you and teaching you football, he taught you maybe not the same way, but he treated you equally and didn't treat you any differently. How big of a factor has that been in making you believe you can succeed at whatever you choose to do? I
mean, for that, it was very important. It kind of created that grit for me, like just to go for it, to attack everything as possible. And it created that competition between me and my brother where, well, you're not going to beat me, and he going to, obviously, you're not going to beat me, so we going at it when it comes to anything. If it's shooting the ball, playing basketball, if it's walking to school, we're literally like, okay, if you take 3 steps in the box, you lose. Like, how you got the cracks between the walkways, and we literally taking 2 steps, and you can see it's like, literally, if you drove past us in the car, you're going to see 2 twins literally stride for stride, not trying to take 3 steps in one box, and we walking to school fast as heck. I mean, everything was a competition, but my dad created that within us by the time we got to high school and everything, when it comes to me and my brother, we going at it, but when it comes to anybody else, there's no way you're going to beat us. But that was built and started within us.
What kind of advice has your brother given you through this process? I mean, obviously, you guys have a very unique connection because you are twins. I mean, it's a little bit different than just having maybe brothers who are separated by a couple of years because there's a different kind of connection. What kind of advice has he given you, and have you given much thought to? Would I like to play with him in the league? Would I like to be up there in Seattle? Would I like to be teammates with him at the highest level? Because I mean, that would be pretty darn special.
I mean, I definitely would, and learning from him has been a great experience. I learned from him when he left. He learned from Richard Sherman and Earl Thomas and Cam Chancellor and guys like that, Bobby Wagner, and being able to learn from them and get back to me. And that's important because from a leadership standpoint, he learned how you got a vocal leaders, you got people who lead by example. And I mixed the two together and brought that to UCF. And not only did I lead by example, then make sure I ran my butt off, make sure I get everything I got in practice, make sure I end up on the hustle plays that they showed in practice. And lead by voice is being able to have my team, and no matter the situation, not worrying about the rankings, not worrying about what the committee felt about us, but us just keep playing football and win game by game. And I learned that from him, and going through this entire process, being able to learn from him also. He said, make sure you enjoy it. A lot of guys just want to just get through it, or I just want to hurry up and get through the combine. Yeah, the combine's a long process. You got to go through the hospital. You got to go through everything, and yes, you might get mentally tired, but you here. You got so many people who would kill to be in your shoes. And once I felt that way and had the opportunity to be there, and knowing at one point I wasn't there, I wasn't gonna complain about me being there for a long time. If you would have added a few more days, I would have been just fine with that too. Yeah. It's making sure that you enjoy the moments where you have them.
Yep. Listen, I know you'll be in Dallas. Who will be with you? Will your brother be there as well?
It's gonna be a lot of us.
Oh, how many you got?
I mean, I would say 25, but I think I'm taking numbers off.
Okay, you're getting cut. Sorry, folks. All right. Well, you know what? They'll be there in spirit regardless, and we will as well. So I guess we'll be there. Actually, we'll be there.
In body, too.
Yeah,
we're
going to take everything. Okay. Shaquem, best of luck. And stick around because we're going to play some draft math, and then you won't have to worry about the draft because we'll know where you're going to play.
Absolutely.
So
we'll figure it out for you today.
We got it all worked out.
All right.
For more, Panthers GM Dave Gettleman addressing the media this afternoon, courtesy are talking about the draft. And these are his thoughts on picking a quarterback. You miss on a quarterback, you've really hurt the franchise for 5 years. It's a 5-year mistake. Of course, the Giants pick at 2. Some questions as to whether they would take a quarterback given the aging veteran Eli Manning. Baker Mayfield, a quarterback that's expected to be among the top to go early in this draft, and he certainly has engendered a variety of differing opinions regarding his NFL career. Mayfield recently visited with the Chargers and expressed some regret to Sports Illustrated that he did not prepare properly. Here's what he said. I didn't look at their playbook as much as I should have, and it could have gone a little bit better. But at the same time, I'm prioritizing which playbooks I'm going to learn. No offense to them, but I've got a lot on my plate. Now, just to explain this for a bit more clarity, these teams are giving these potential quarterbacks the playbook. They want them to look at it, review it, come in. They're going to be asked questions, clearly. I think he probably got some questions he wasn't prepared for because he hadn't looked at it for very long. You know, he's likely not going to the Chargers, but is this a wise approach?
None of it bothers me. I mean,
it doesn't.
Well, no, none of it bothers me except the talking about it in the last part. No offense to them.
Okay.
You know, that you don't need to talk about this. That's the whole thing. That's the whole thing he's going to have to learn because all you're doing is giving scouts and, more importantly, decision makers, whether it's a college scouting director, general manager, someone in the building, an opportunity to say, see, told you so. See, it's just like the crotch grabbing against Kansas. It's just like the off the field incident that he had. You know, the maturity and how he channels his energy is something that we're concerned about. Now, if you really like Baker and you're all in on Baker, you're just going to laugh this off and say, you know what, he's confident and he knows he's going to go a lot higher than this. So you can look at this both ways, but I think Baker, for his own sake, would just be better off if he didn't bring this kind of stuff up. You can have a chip on your shoulder. You can do all these things you're doing, but just channel it a little bit better. I think
the drama has to come to an end at some point. You don't want your quarterback to be discussed. You know, all these times that we've seen like Baker's name comes into the discussion. And to me, it's about being professional and being a CEO. And what he did in college is one thing. This is the NFL. This is a huge jump. You got to ramp everything up to get ready for the National Football League. I don't care what happened against collegiate defenses in the Big 12. You got stung against Georgia. These guys are going to hit you harder. This is the best in the world. And I think what you need to play at a high level in the NFL is different than college. Yet we have this drama and the antics and these answers that aren't standard or not what you expect to hear. And it's Baker Mayfield. So I think to Todd's point, I think it is if you like him, you probably still are going to excuse away that and say it's not a big deal. But guess what? If he's not a big-time quarterback, you go back to all and say, you knew everything, yet you still took him high. We're not talking about second round. We're talking about top 15, top 10, rarefied air of the first round. Not where Breeze went, not where Russell Wilson went. Talk about 6'1.5" isn't even being discussed now. You got to overcome 6'1.5". Now you have to say, I'm going to be a CEO. I'm going to be the guy that's going to be that you can depend on to be the galvanizer and the leader. And we don't know if he'll be that in the NFL.
You go back to what Dave Gettleman said. You know, you're making a 5-year mistake. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that's true. So you're looking at a really important decision, a 5-year mistake. If you get it wrong, are you going to take a chance on a guy who says, no offense, I've got a lot on my plate, because he's about to have a lot more on his plate as an NFL quarterback?
Look, his answer to this question is not going to determine whether or not he's a success or failure in the NFL. It's just not. Now, was it the optics of it are not very good? The lack of awareness on his part as far as being forthright and saying, hey, look. But is that
a problem?
Yeah, it is. It's a maturity issue. It's a not understanding what's at stake and what people are expecting you issue, just as Mel talked about. There are certain things that come along with playing quarterback and being under the spotlight that really have nothing to do with you being on the football field. It has to do with how you present yourself and whether or not you don't have to give people all this kind of information. Everything that I've been told and everything that I know about Baker Mayfield tells me this, that he does care about the game. He will learn the playbook. He will put in the time. He will have tremendous football character as far as how he views the importance of the game. All right? And it is a lot to learn all these different playbooks. Who knows how many playbooks he's been given?
Sure, we can all understand
that. I mean, in this short, condensed amount of time, I mean, we can sit here right now and we can bash the kid and say, hey, look, you should learn this playbook. You should learn every playbook if you have to. You should learn all 32 of them.
And that's why
it's not even realistic.
No, that can't happen.
None of this really bothers me except the discussion of it and coming out and talking about it when you don't need to talk about it, because that just brings it back to, come on, man. This is what an NFL quarterback has to do. Tom Brady and Peyton Manning and all that, their personality is a little different than the perception now. But they've learned how to kind of handle their image and what they can and can't talk about and how to just handle yourself.
Absolutely. We are smack dab right now, right smack in the middle of confirmation bias central. That's what we are. And we are looking for reasons to kind of move us to the left or the right on players who are polarizing. And he's one of those guys. And you're right. There are going to be people who go, this is the Baker I'm talking about that I can't stand. This is why I think it's too risky and why it could be a 5-year mistake. Others will say, when we gave him our playbook, he knew it all.
When has this ever happened before? When was the last
as far as someone being this polarizing?
Do we typically sit here and discuss quarterbacks in this way? We're not discussing.
I feel like we do on occasion.
I do. Top echelon quarterbacks.
I know what you're saying.
It's a rarity.
It's the first time I can remember hearing this kind of.
So this is something new to quarterbacks, and all I'll say is it's not about galvanizing and being a leader. He is that. Teammates love him. Everybody loves playing for him. He loves the game. We know that. But that's college, it's the NFL, and the way you handle yourself will be respected in the NFL and be expected by your teammates. So as soon as you go awry, they will lose that respect and you won't be the galvanizer. So things can flip very quickly.
But these are the things that you have to bank on to some degree, although I agree with you. These are things you're going to have to bank on, that there is such a thing called maturity and that it will come into play with him. And number two is this, okay? Football character, no one has ever questioned whether this guy wants to learn playbooks, can take and transfer what he learns in the classroom to the football field. No one's ever questioned this. And see, those are the kind of things that are, again, you will lean on if you are positive on him. You're right. The thing about it is, I'll tell you what, the onus is really going to shift to the teams to make sure they can rein him in and make sure that they are getting exactly what they think they're getting. Because you're right, if he does fail, these are the kind of things everyone will point to and say, the warning signs were all there. Yeah. They were all there. They were all there. Although this particular incident is going to have nothing to do with whether it succeeds or fails.
This is just if nothing else existed here, this would be a half a minute story.
Right. Sure. Well, we talk about this all the time. Situation always matters, but just whoever drafts him, you got to go in eyes wide open and make sure you get the right pieces in place to help with that maturation process that you need to take place.
Which, Wendy, I'm telling you, it always matters. But you know what? It's really not talked about enough. When we're talking about quarterbacks, it just isn't.
I agree.
It just isn't. Because, look, we saw the example with Jared Goff. We see how much different it can make, how big of a difference it can make. Where Baker goes is going to be critical for all these guys. It's going to be critical. We are not going to just be able to look back and say, well, it was because of this or this that the player didn't do, that this player didn't succeed. It's going to be as much on the teams as anything with these guys. It is, because none of them are standing up.
We won't have a post-draft show. We're not going to be here for.
And you know what? And that's the unfortunate part.
Right.
The unfortunate part is we don't really go back and spend this much time analyzing why guys did succeed and why they didn't, as much as we do trying to predict that they're going to succeed.
Listen, that's all right. We're always looking for programming. That's a good idea.
There's some
ideas.
There you go.
Write that one down, and then we'll be back after this.
Hey, it's Shaquem Griffin. Make sure you tune in. We playing draft math to see where I land. Don't want to miss this.
I should say former UCF linebacker now, Shaquem Griffin, about to be NFL linebacker. Shaquem Griffin is with us. And we've done this with a number of draftees, playing draft math. I can tell you it is foolproof, 100% scientifically proven to put you in the right place. Okay, we've developed a series of questions. You answer the question, and that will eliminate teams. We'll start, you can see behind you, with all 32, and we will make our way down to the perfect fit. Okay? And you don't have to worry anymore. So you're welcome.
Yeah, we'll know where I'm going.
Yeah, we'll know where you're going. All right, let's start with this. Would you rather blitz or drop back in coverage?
Blitz.
You'd rather blitz. Okay, let's take. No, you don't look. You can't look to the end, so that you stay there. Okay, we have eliminated teams based on that answer. All right, this one will tell us a lot. Would you rather play in warm weather or cold weather?
Well, due to the fact that I never really been in cold weather, I've never seen snow. I'm a Florida boy. All I know is warm. Keep me in the warm weather.
Keep you in the warm weather. And I will tell you, you have never seen snow. Not even, you haven't touched it.
Never touched it. I mean, I seen it on TV.
Well, yeah,
That doesn't count.
That doesn't count. I'm sure you've watched Elf. There's plenty of snow there, but yeah, you haven't seen the real thing. Okay, so don't look. We're making headway here. Do you want a head coach with 3 or more years of experience, or less than 3 years? You know, a young guy you can come in, you can learn from, or you can learn together, I guess you could say.
I mean, that's tough. I mean, I had a coach who came in and been coaching for 2 years with us, and we went undefeated.
Yes, you did first time, too.
You could ask for experience, but, it's nothing like it having a young coach who can get things done.
All right, you want that energy.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and you know what? You've had a good experience with that, so no need to, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Don't look, we're down to 3, okay? I know who they are. We'll let you know. Would you rather play in a 3-4 or a 4-3?
3-4. I mean, you can be so creative when it comes to a 3-4. I know 4-3 is more of a traditional defense.
Yep.
When you get from a 3-4, I mean, I can be a guy you can put anywhere.
All right, you don't have any qualms.
You can have a lot of fun in the 3-4. That's very creative.
Okay, well, he likes the creativity. All right, don't look, but I think we may have. Does that get us? Oh, it does get us where we need. Do you have any ideas? Before I let you look.
No idea.
No idea. Okay, congratulations. The Houston Texans would make the perfect place for you to play. And guess what? It's still in warm weather. Let's go over here and take a look at some of your plays. Darren Woodson is going to join us, and he knows a thing or two about the NFL. Perhaps you've heard of him. If not, you'll meet him now.
Let's do it.
All right, what are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's take a look. Shaquem gets ready for the next level. Some of his favorite plays here in the Verizon film room. So roll that tape and let's take a look. And we'll get you to take us through these because you know these all.
And these are your favorite plays, right?
Yeah, he chose these. Shaquem chose these. All right, this is Connecticut and UCF. And Shaquem picked up by the blocker here. Under pressure, the quarterback is, but you find your target and then take us through what happens here.
I mean, through this entire play, we needed a big stop. UConn was doing a really good job of driving down the field, and it was time for them to make a stop. So they sent us on the blitz, and I knew I was going to get double teamed because I heard the protection was sliding towards number 18. Only one number 18 on our team, so I kind of figured out where it was going. So once I got double teamed, we had a free player come through. And I seen him run all over the place. The only thing I can do is just keep chasing.
All right, how about this interception against Temple?
Oh, man, that's just pure DB skills, showing good fluent hips. I knew that the quarterback seen that, their best receiver from Temple was matched up by a linebacker, but I don't think he looked at what linebacker was guarding him. I seen the hand go over his head for the fade ball. My whole thing is to get good body presence on him, tap my head around, and just play like a receiver.
Great one-on-one coverage with space.
Oh, yeah.
All right, a scoop and score here. And I'm going to ask Darren what he sees on this play. Now, we know you were already there, Shaquem. So, Darren, what do you see here?
Well, the athleticism. I think that's the one thing you see early on in this with this play. The ball's on the ground. Look at the one-hand scoop while the play is going on. And that's pure athleticism. I love that play. But the one I like was the first one. And I'm surprised by this being your top 3 plays because I saw other plays that you made earlier in the season or during the season that were much more impressive. Maybe you were limited as far as what you could grab, but you made a lot better plays. But the first one, the hustle play.
Yeah.
And we talk about a motor. We always talk about guys like J.J. Watt. What separates him from the other players? It's when the play is broken down, he can recover, and his motor does not stop. That's what I saw in that first play, and those are those hustle plays, those what we call championship plays, those hustle plays that can turn the game, can turn the tide by making that going one way and flying all the way across the field and making that big play. That's the big one.
Well, listen, good news because draft math is always right.
Yeah.
He's going to Houston. You'll get to play with J.J. Watt. So there you go.
So you're going to Houston now?
Yeah,
huh?
he's going to Houston. He answered the questions, and it does not fail. So that's
first round. Doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't matter where you go. First round.
And Darren can tell you better than anybody that, and you know this, not where you start, but where you finish. So, no matter where you play, even if it's a place that has snow, my friend, there's no doubt you'll have a successful career. So thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me today.
What can LeBron do? Plus, updates on all those teams jockeying for position to draft a quarterback next week. And how about this? NBA Commissioner Adam Silver in our studio. That and a whole lot more Friday morning. Get Up on ESPN.
We continue now with press coverage from our Giants reporter Jordan Renan, who tweeted this. The New York Giants have released wide receiver Brandon Marshall with a failed physical. GM Dave Gettleman announced it during his press conference this afternoon. Gettleman also had this to say when asked about free agent wide receiver Des Bryant. He responded, Adam Schefter, we are interested in everybody.
We'll see.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's holding their breath.
Hard to imagine OBJ and Des Bryant playing together. But we'll see.
Goodness, that's a lot of something right
Fun
there.
wide receiver room.
Yeah, wow, a lot of personality. All right, listen. The Giants are interesting at 2 for all kind of reasons. Will they take a quarterback? Will they opt for Saquon Barkley? Will they stay put or trade that pick? And everybody wants to talk trades when we get close to the draft. So let's go through some potential scenarios here with Todd and Mel, Adam and Lewis. Things you're watching that could happen.
All right, Schefter, run through this. Who's the first pick, Allen?
I honestly don't know.
I know you don't know. I'm just kidding.
It's Allen or Darnold, so put down Allen. It's fine.
Lewis, who's the second pick? Lewis. Lewis, who's the second pick?
Saquon.
You already see it, man.
There we go.
Just give me answers, guys. Kuiper, who's the third pick?
Darnold.
Darnold.
The Kuiper. You see how definitive he was?
Yeah, he didn't hesitate.
Schefter, Browns.
Chubb.
All right, now we're at 5.
Okay,
so
now
here's where you start to look. That's the next team that potentially could possibly take a quarterback in the Denver Broncos. But we do know that we've got the Buffalo Bills sitting here, and they've got a bunch of picks. You look at 12, 22, 53, 56, and 96.
Well, hold on. But it's not just them, if you don't mind.
Not at all.
If we're going to go through, you got
Arizona,
Buffalo, Miami.
Miami.
I don't expect Miami to trade up, for the record. So Buffalo and Arizona are the 2 teams you're watching here in this
So
scenario.
what happens is, the point being, with the quarterbacks, we now have Rosen and Mayfield, and then Lamar Jackson we think would be a little bit lower. But those 3 are on the board. Where does the trade happen? Who can Buffalo get to make a move? And I should say this, the overall talent pool is very important in this because I believe, and Mel believes, and I think Lewis believes as well, when you get past these guys and you start to get into the Vita Veas and the Ron Paynes, that's a different level of talent, and there's a drop-off. So if you're the Colts, you've got to make a decision. Do you want to give away the opportunity to get an elite player like Roquan Smith at 6, or do you want to trade back and get some more picks and be left out, kind of shut out of the top tier? That's the discussion you have to have if you're the Bills.
And the Colts have already had a trade that occurred that allowed them to get 3 starters.
3 to 6.
2 twos this year and a 2 next year. And if they do it again, they could accumulate more, but they'll lose out on a stud player at 6, as will Tampa Bay, Chicago, the 49ers. The Raiders at 10 could be interesting because if the key guys like Roquan Smith is gone, do you look at Tremaine Edmonds from Virginia Tech, or is that a spot to get ahead of Miami? That to me is the hot pick.
Well, and I think when you
that to me is a spot you could get to and then guarantee either Rosen, if he dropped that far, which we say probably won't happen, but that could be the Baker Mayfield spot.
It almost becomes a game of chicken. When you're sitting there, you're Buffalo, and you're trying to get 6, can't get there. Trying to get 7, can't get there. Now,
what happened to 5? What happened to 5?
Okay, 5 as well. 5 as well. But let's say they choose not to, and now we get to about 8, 9, 10. These teams are saying, well, if we move back, one team is going to move in and take a quarterback, and maybe Miami's going to take a quarterback as well if Baker Mayfield's still on the board. So we could get the same player at 12 that maybe we could get at 8 or 9 or 10.
And all divisional rivals, Miami, Buffalo. We have the Jets looking at a quarterback. Miami's at 11, Buffalo at 12, divisional rivals. Talk about New England. Are they going to be aggressive and go up and get a quarterback? All in the same division. You think about the AFC East, they're right there. They're going to be the big players in this whole discussion about where the quarterbacks go and who's going to jockey to get ahead of that team in their own division.
Talk to me about Denver.
Well, I think Denver's sitting there in a spot where basically the Broncos are looking at this like this. I don't know how they feel about Josh Rosen and Baker Mayfield, but if there's a quarterback there that they like, they will go ahead and make that move at number 5, depending on who the quarterback is.
Hey, Rosen's there.
I don't know. I don't know the quarterback they like. But I'll say this. I know that their phone is open, that they're listening to any offers, that they'll continue to listen to offers. And I think, assuming that the Browns hold on to their pick at 4, and I think they will, that if the draft goes in any form like this, 5 becomes a touchstone spot for a team that wants to come up to get one of these quarterbacks. Now, I'll say this to you. If we get Allen 1, Darnold 2, Mayfield 3, right?
Yep.
And we get a flurry of quarterbacks, I don't know. Maybe somebody's still pushing to get up to number 5 to go get
the last
Josh
one.
Rosen.
The last one of the top
So
4.
either way, I think Denver's pick. Oh, there we go. Okay, John Elway. This afternoon, I'm open to trading
Read that.
Read it right off the screen.
Read that
there you
tweet,
go.
Adam.
Read it.
I'm
Read it
trading.
out.
Said he'll go through some trades announced on Monday. Board will be finalized later today. Well, again, I didn't need him to say that, but they were going to trade.
Because I knew it.
Because I'm Adam Schefter.
I already know.
So anyway.
They were going to be open at number 5 for business. There's confirmation. The Broncos spot at number 5 officially is up for grabs.
And if you're at 12, it's going to cost you, I think, significantly more to get to 5, but you can't take the risk. Yeah, I mean, when you look at the Buffalo Bills, they've got the picks like we talked about. But if they could move up to 8 or 9 and get a guy, if it was falling, you look at these picks again. That's not going to cost you. It's not going to cost you 22. It's probably going to cost you 53 and 56. But at least you're still picking at 12 and 22.
We don't know what happens there at 5 or at 10 until we know what happens at 1, 2, and 3.
No, you don't. But what's interesting is you have teams out there, whether it's Buffalo or New England, who have the picks to package.
Right. But
there are teams
it's
who
a
have
matter
the
of how
potential.
aggressive do they need to be.
Yeah, or want to be.
Right.
So,
and unless they're going to tell us who they like and in what order.
I'll tell you one thing. If I need a guy and there's a quarterback available that I like, I'm begging and I'm giving away too much to 5, to 6, whoever will let me go up and get that guy. That's it. And you know what? No one's asking the Eagles. No one's asking any of the 5 teams in the last couple of years that have traded up in the first round, because so far, so good. They like all of their quarterbacks. No one's sitting there saying, what did the Eagles give up for Wentz?
Yeah.
Nobody
No
cares.
revisionist history there, which brings me to this. Coming up, our second chance selections. Lewis, you did a very good job with this yesterday. He's going to redraft.
Thank you, Wendy.
2016
With
draft.
the first pick in the 2016 NFL Draft, Jared Goff.
No one wants to sit very long, and you're looking at the 2016 NFL Draft. So not last year, but the year before. It was Jared Goff and Carson Wentz, 2 quarterbacks who went back-to-back at the top, followed by Joey Bosa, Zeke Elliott, and Jalen Ramsey. But we said this all week. We'll say it again. Hindsight's 20/20. We know now a lot more than we knew then. That's the way it works. So if we knew now what we did not know then, what would we do differently? And today, Louis Riddick gets to put his scouting hat back on, if you will, and redraft the top 10 from 2016.
Yeah, I think it's important to remember, again, you have to remember what the situations were for these football teams at that time, even when you're still doing this. Now, that being said, at the top of this draft, I think it's pretty easy that if we knew then what we know now, look, Carson Wentz is ahead of Jared Goff as far as development is concerned, and I think everyone would probably agree that he has a higher ceiling maybe than even Jared Goff does, and you know how I feel about Jared Goff.
Yeah,
I can't
believe he even dared
but I will say this, I wouldn't say, it would be interesting to see, and look, at here at the number 2 spot, I would take Jared Goff and put him there with the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I will say this, it'd be interesting to see how both of these quarterbacks, how they would be right now if this is exactly how it had played out. If Carson was to go first to the Rams, and he had a year under Jeff Fisher in that regime,
okay,
and Jared Goff,
you made a mistake. It's fine.
So I'm just saying.
That's not his thing.
But you know, I'm just telling you. It'd be interesting to see how this would pan out here.
Both teams are happy.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. You're right. At the number 3 spot, look, this is easy for me, and this was an interesting situation here when Joey ran his 40 time. I remember us sitting at the combine and everybody going, "Oh, that's way too slow of a 40 time. He won't be able to rush the passer with any kind of real efficiency and any kind of real consistency." Wrong. You take him. You still would take him there.
Absolutely.
At number 4, I'd say exactly what.
Careful with the everybody's.
Well, most people did. All right. At number 4, we'd still stay here with Zeke Elliott. He was the perfect pick at that time for that franchise. It's exactly what they needed. Now, the next guy, number 5, we'd leave that the same too. Why would you not take Jalen Ramsey here? The only argument really in this kind of situation would be maybe Jalen Ramsey would be one of those players who some people would say, well, why wouldn't you take him here at 4? Dallas was kind of criticized when they didn't take him there. Why didn't the Chargers take him at 3? The Chargers were criticized a little bit when he was still on the board and they took Joey Bosa.
They're all happy.
Exactly. So there's no reason really to change it. This is the first inflection point for me right here, because obviously the Baltimore Ravens, they needed an offensive tackle. They took Ronnie Stanley, okay? What would I do there?
And I don't have it because I wrote it down in New York and I'm in Connecticut.
Obviously here, we'd be looking for a wide receiver as far as I'm concerned. We'd go down here.
Most drafts, you got to scroll
There you
down.
Take
go.
Michael Thomas and put him in there. They have nothing like that. Michael Thomas is one of the best wide receivers in the National Football League who people don't really talk about. People thought he was speed deficient at Ohio State. Couldn't really separate at Ohio State. Couldn't be the guy who would make big plays. All he does is make plays now. and they would be dying to have him in Baltimore purple. Wouldn't you say?
I would say so, Lewis, and I think this speaks to the New Orleans Saints and the great job they have done scouting. I mean, this year they nailed it.
Well,
think about the draft choices that were brought in via the draft, and then before that was Michael Thomas. So think about where this team is with Drew Brees.
Really good two-year run.
They have had a heck of a run.
I mean, last year it was like hit after hit after hit. I mean, it was uncanny.
Now, there's no telling whether or not he would have the same kind of numbers, but nevertheless, this kid has turned into an absolute stud. At 7, the guy who they picked had one of the best years of a defensive lineman in the NFL this past year. And they took, as soon as we can get defensive ends to show up here, they took DeForest Buckner, and I would still take DeForest Buckner, and I would leave him there. I would still say he was one of the guys who was going to be a pillar player for them. At number 8, the Tennessee Titans needed to fortify the offensive line. They needed to protect Marcus Mariota. The guy who they picked just happened to be an all-pro and a Pro Bowler in Jack Conklin. Now, there are some limitations that he has, particularly in pass protection, but in the style of play they wanted to play, he has been a home run for them. Number 9, another interesting one here. Another interesting one. They took Leonard Floyd.
All right, outside backer.
How about this guy? How about Yannick Ngakoue, 9th overall? Look, I was tipped off to this guy pre-draft in 2016, and I didn't listen. He has been one of the best pass rushers in the NFL, and he would have fit perfect in that 3-4 as a stand-up outside rusher. And then number 10. This is going to be interesting, too, because we wouldn't be talking about the position that we were just talking about.
This happened yesterday as well with the Giants.
Had we been
right there.
Oh, there he is.
There he is.
There he is. How about if Dak Prescott right now was the backup to Eli Manning?
Things would look totally different in New York with Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Dallas, too, though. I mean,
but there would be somewhat of a controversy because when he was in Dallas, there was an injury that elevated him to the starting position.
So think about his career.
Also think about the screaming and yelling would have gone on from everybody had those picks gone like that. Michael Thomas up there in the top 10, Dak Prescott at 10. Think about what would have been said. And Yannick Ngakoue, reach.
Yeah.
How can they do that? And here they are as the best players out of that draft. So I'm always going to try to hold back on the word reach now, Todd.
No question about it.
So can we take it to the bank next Thursday? We won't hear there. It's a reach.
Correct. Say this. Anytime you have about 6, 7, 8 guys that you feel like either you would keep them in that spot or
it's a nominal change.
Good players. This is a good class.
Well, those guys at the top of the draft, the teams at the top of the draft, they did the things they were supposed to do, and they did a great job of developing those guys, using Joey the right way, Ezekiel the right way. He had it set up. He was set up for success.
Right.
Jalen, I mean, it's a good draft. You're right.
Listen, this was painful. Number 2 was painful for Lewis, so we applaud you.
Don't worry, I still love you.
You know what? Well done, my
gave up on your boy.
I didn't give up on him. He's still my son.
Still to come, it must be the offseason because Gronk is one of our top storylines. Which Gronk are we talking about, though? Stay tuned, find out.